Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Friday Live on this day, the 30th of June, the last day of June for 2023. We're about to move into July. Can you believe that? We are basically moving into the seventh month of the year. It's crazy. So welcome everybody to this live today. It is freezing in Melbourne, so I've got the heater going full bore. I'm rugged up. I'm trying to keep myself warm. I hope the sun is shining wherever you are. And as always, please feel free to say hi if you are joining me live and let me know where you're listening from, where you are in the world. I'm always curious to know and always appreciate anybody saying hi to me. Got a couple of really great questions for you today. So as always, just going to give a few moments for the live to filter through so people know that I'm here. And whilst we're waiting for that, please feel free to say hi. As always, you can ask me a question, pop it in the comments below and I will answer it for you. Any question at all, can be about anything, relationships, life, etc., anything at all. Hey, Deezer, I've just been listening to you. Our podcast episode has come back from the agency that kind of produces it for me and mixes it together. So sounding really awesome. You sound amazing. So I was actually about to reach out and say, wow, it's a great episode. I've just been listening to it. I'm so excited to send it out to everybody. It's been a while since I've released an episode, guys. I know that my last podcast episode was last year. And I just got so busy and there was just so much going on work-wise. Something had to give. And podcasts are they take an enormous amount of time to create and edit and produce and all of those things. So the podcast has been quiet. However, I've got about 4 or 5 episodes that I've been producing and working on that are close to being ready to go. So it's all about to start up again. And one of them is with the beautiful Deezer. So it's such an amazing episode, Deezer. Honestly, honey, I'm so excited. Hi, Karen. Hello. You're in Ohio. Oh, welcome. Thank you so much for saying hi, Karen. And I hope the sun is shining for you in Ohio. Anybody else who wants to say hi, please do so. Post below. I can see a few of you are watching. I can't see who's watching me through. I'm using a live streaming service. So I'm in Facebook and YouTube at the moment. I think if I was in Facebook, I would be able to see who is watching, but I've got no idea. I can just see there's people there, but I know who you are. So as I do appreciate people saying hi. Hi, Sarah, Sour Grape Sarah. I love that name. Hi, Fiona from Kin, Queensland. Kin. Never even heard of that. Wow. Okay. Kin. Hi, Sarah. Thanks so much for saying hi. I so appreciate it. And a big welcome to anybody else out there. If you have a question you want me to answer, post it in the comments below. Or if you just want to say hi, please do so. I was just looking at the questions that I've got here. And I'm just going to bring those up for you. So just bear with me while I do that. And to anybody else who wants to say hi, as always, I'd love to hear from you. All right. So there's a question within a question here, or a question within a statement here. So I'm just going to start. I may have the question wrong inside this statement. Let's see. So hi, Fiona. Came across your feed on Facebook, listened into one of your live chats and had the urge to just ask a million questions, of course. A little about my dilemma. My partner and I have a beautiful relationship. However, there was always a big elephant in the room to discuss and lay out on the table. Since I was 10 years old, I have always known that I wanted to be a mother and looked forward to having a family of my own. My partner is already a father from a previous marriage and does not want to have any more children. We are now in limbo, still living together, and I would say practicing goodwill most times, if not always with each other, but also expectant of the outcome that we will part ways, unsure on when this might be exactly. I'm all about relationships and growth, and I dare say that I still have hope and light towards our situation. I do believe in our love and strength as a couple, but can admit that sometimes I don't have the strength anymore. Okay, so couple of things I want to say to this, because there's been a couple more questions that this person has asked in a more general sense. So I want to address something here. I think, and I'm going to address this in a more generalized way, and then I want to come back to this specific situation. I always find it interesting how, and I think what's really interesting in what's being shared by this person is, so they've known since they were 10 that they want to be a mother, right? And they want to have a family of their own. That's obviously been some driving force, something that they really want, something that's close to their heart. Okay. Yet they're in a relationship with someone who doesn't want children. Okay. That in itself I find interesting. And I find interesting for a number of reasons, right? But really, it's interesting to me. You really, really want children and a family, and this is really important to you, and you're in a relationship with someone who has told you they don't want them. Interesting to me. Very interesting, and something that I think is worthy of reflecting on. You're in a relationship with someone who doesn't want children, yet it's really important to you. I think sometimes what happens is we we meet someone, and even though something's really obvious to us, we ignore it and we think, oh, I can change their mind. I'll work on them. That's just a fear that they have. They don't have to feel this way. And so we work on trying to shift, change, and manage someone else's experience of the world. As soon as you start doing that, you're going to have problems, right? And disappointment and frustration. When we come back to the simplicity of, it's very interesting that you choose to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't want children. Okay. And then you sit back and say, oh, I'm practicing goodwill. I believe in us as a couple. Yet you've got this deal breaker, what I would call a deal breaker there, that isn't being addressed through the hope of, oh, if we're close enough and we care about each other, he may change his mind, but not being addressed from the perspective of you honoring you, right? You are the only one who can honor you. You are the only one who can take a stand for you. When we expect someone else to do that, we give our power away. We become disenfranchised. We become frustrated. And what happens is we bounce between our analytical mind and what wisdom is telling us. We bounce between those two. Or you could say we bounce between ego and wisdom. Ego will say, it's okay, I can change their mind. Ego will say, oh, they're just frightened. They've got to learn to trust and let go. Ego will try and override someone else's experience of something, right? Whereas wisdom will give you a very, very different message. And so the question is, and this is a question you want to ask yourself, if you're bouncing around a situation in your life, you've got to understand the reason we bounce is because we're bouncing between ego and wisdom. And often it's because we don't want to hear what wisdom has to say. Ego sounds a lot easier and a lot more comfortable, right? But if you are in a relationship and having children means that much to you, and your relationship with someone that does not want to have them, okay, the elephant in the room is not the fact that he doesn't want to have children. The elephant in the room, and I say this, please hear this with the love and kindness I send this to. The elephant in the room is the fact that you are in a relationship with someone who doesn't want them. That's the elephant in the room. I think you might be looking at the wrong elephant. Okay? That'll be the first thing I want to say. If there is something that really matters to you in life that you want, it's okay to want that, but it's not okay if someone else doesn't want it to then say, I will change their mind. I will convince them. I will, right? You've got to be able to look at something through a lens of love and kindness and acceptance and say, well, I'm here. The other person is here. Is this okay with me? Can I live with that? Now, if the answer is no, then it's not about what can I do to change their mind. It's like, well, what am I going to do about that for me? And often these are the things we don't want to face because that might mean leaving the relationship. It might mean all sorts of things, right? And then we have to face those things. And this is often why people will spend a lot of time in a relationship where there's a deal breaker on the table, hoping that they can change the other one if they work hard enough on them, if they, right? Instead of, the question has to be, how come? How come you're in a relationship with someone who doesn't want the thing that you say you've wanted all your life? Okay. And so the question has to be not how can I change their mind, but can I be okay with that? And if I can't, what am I then going to do about it? Right? What am I then going to do about that? Karen, Okay. I feel like my husband and I have a hard time enjoying each other's company. Very hard at times to make a connection. We don't fight or have ill feeling towards each other. You just feel more like roommates. Okay. I'm sorry to hear that, Karen. What would you like to have happen in that situation? It might sound like an obvious question, but I'd love to hear from you. How would you like this to be? What would you like to create here? That's an important question to ask yourself. How would you like it to be? And I'd be curious to see what your answer is around that. And anybody else who's joined in, I can see the feed's gone out to a few more people. Please say hi, leave a question in the comments below. I would be really curious to see if anyone's got any questions and I've just answered a question. So if you've just joined us, go back and listen to the replay for that one. And if what I've just said in response to that question, if anybody has any questions about that or if it's resonated, let me know. You want more of a connection. Okay. So what does connection look like to you? Where do you think connection comes from? Yeah, connection is a feeling, right? People get confused and think connection's about what you do, but it's about the feeling that you create, right? And it's the same with things like compatibility. Compatibility, believe it or not, is also a feeling rather than a doing, okay? You can feel very connected and compatible with someone where there are a lot of differences, believe it or not. And so the question then has to be like, and again, it's like anything, it all starts with us. Do you feel connected to life? Do you feel connected to you? Do you feel moved and touched by things? How fast does your head go? Because all of these things will get in the way of you connecting with someone, right? They really will. So it's about the feeling that you generate first, and then we move forward from there. So you've always got to be able to start with you. Don't start with the other person. Always start with you, because whatever you generate is, and this is a bit of a complicated thing for me to explain. So actually, maybe I won't go into that concept. It gets too complicated in a Facebook Live. I'm going to pause and rewind, because where I was about to go is something that requires a lot more time and explanation. So let me just stop for a second. I want to keep this simple for you guys. So the feeling that you generate and create starts with you. Now, when we are creating goodwill, when we feel connected to life, when we feel connected to the things around us, we're in the best place possible to create connection with someone else. Often people are looking for connection, but they're not in that state themselves, right? And it very much starts with us, because we are the creators. We are the emanators of our feeling, of the energy that we put out, etc., etc., etc. So it starts there. So that's the first place I'd be starting, okay? And getting a sense of where you are in relationship to that. I hope that helps. Now I'm going to come back to a couple of other questions this person has asked. Okay, so the next question that was asked here is, can a victim of a narcissistic partner relationship possess distorted views of the future and bring this into new relationship dynamics? E.g., my partner has a real fear of having another baby. I feel his perception of reality is distorted based on how it worked out in his previous marriage. Well, I guess yes, but I really want to say you don't have to be a victim of a narcissistic partner to have distorted views of the future. Most people have distorted views of the future and they don't know it, right? All you need is a really busy, sped up mind to have a distorted view of anything, right? If your mind is going fast, I can tell you right now, you are absolutely looking at life through a distorted lens. This is something people do not understand. If your mind's going really fast, you are more likely to be angry and reactionary. If your mind is going really fast, you are more likely to be defensive. If your mind is going really fast, you are more prone to insecurities. If your mind is going really fast, you are more prone to taking things personally. If your mind is going really fast, you are more prone to either anger and shutdown. Right? Now, hear what I'm saying here, because this is very important what I'm saying. See how I'm talking about this based on how fast your mind's going, not based on your personality or the past. Very important distinction that I just made there. Because when you look at something through the lens of your personality or the past, what do you think happens? Right? When you look at something through the lens of your personality or the past, what happens? Feel free to post in the comments if you have an idea of what I'm talking about or you want to take a guess. Go for it. I want to try and make this interactive where possible. Because this is actually super, super important and a big mistake in how people navigate things, especially our relationships. Okay. If you're looking through the lens of your personality or the past, you're looking through things in a very personal lens, right? Very personal lens. Yeah, thinking too fast. Absolutely. We're thinking too fast. Paul, awesome. Thank you. You focus on the negatives. Yes. Judgments. Love it. Thanks, guys. This is awesome. I love this. So much. You don't want to just listen to me talking all afternoon. That gets boring. Awesome. I love it. Thank you. Keep them coming. Yes. Now, when you're focused on the personality or the past, you're very limited by your beliefs around those things as well. Okay. You're very limited by your beliefs about those things. Oh, I'm a sensitive person, therefore I'm not very good at conflict. Or I was brought up by a toxic mother or father, therefore I'm not good at connection. So can you see what I'm saying? So we are limited by those things. All of a sudden we're limited because we're now looking at something through a very personal lens. When we're looking at it through the terms of where our mind is, oh, my mind's going very fast. Can you see now I'm not limited by my personality and I'm not limited by the past? Look how much more there is on offer for me just by doing that one thing. I'm no longer looking at my personality. I'm no longer looking at the past. So I'm no longer limited by what I think is true about those things. I'm now going, oh, my mind's going fast. That's why I'm angry. See that? Now, how much easier is it to navigate something from there? Oh, I've just got to slow my mind down versus, oh, I'm angry because I was brought up by an abusive mother and father, and I need to reconcile with the past, and I need to come to terms with what happened to me as a child, and I now need to work on my personality defaults and clear all those things out, deal with that trauma, heal, make myself okay, and then I'll be able to deal with those things. Look how hard that is. Massive mountain to climb, overwhelm, way too much information, incredibly complicated. That looks way too hard. I'll just go back to what I was doing versus the simplicity of seeing, oh, well, my mind's going so fast. Oh, no wonder. See it? This is really, 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 really important, what I just said. Okay? Now, this is the difference between thinking that in order to be okay, whether it be you personally, whether it be a relationship, we've got to trawl through all of that stuff. We've got to deal with all of those things. We've got to overcome what looks like massive issues just so I can handle this thing differently in the now. Now, can you see how that is just utterly exhausting and just makes everything way harder than it needs to be? And so when I talk about the fact that relationships are simple, this is what I'm talking about, right? There are just basic principles of truth that are true to all human beings. And number one, here's one of them. When a person's head's going very fast, they are more likely to be reactionary. They are more likely to take things personally. They are more likely to be defensive. They are more likely to justify themselves. They're more likely to be self-righteous. They're more likely to be judgmental. They're more likely to be rigid in their thinking, right? Now, this is true of everybody. See what I'm saying? That's true for every person on the planet. Is this making sense, guys? It's very, very important. So much easier to understand how things work and then adjust to that, then go back in the past and think that you've got to heal, change, fix, manage, deal with all of that in order for you to be okay now, or in order for a relationship to change now. Okay? Or in order for you to actually start to show up differently. I've got to trawl back and deal with all of that. Can you see how complicated that becomes? Can you see how hard that becomes? And you can see why people start that and then they give up. I don't blame them. Because whilst you're trawling through all of that stuff, you're living in it. You're reliving it. Okay? You're re-traumatizing yourself. You're going back through all of those memories. You're pressing the bruise of all of that. And then you're trying to find emotional intelligence as you're going through all of that. Well, that's not going to happen. And guess what happens when you're doing all of that? You're thinking more, right? You got more mental load. So, one of the things that's really important to understand is when our mind's going very fast, we have a lot more mental load. We have no bandwidth. If you've got no bandwidth, there is nothing of you available to the people in your life. Nothing. You've got nothing to offer, right? Because you're just treading water, right? When we are treading water, it almost feels like anytime something else comes on our plate, whether it be losing the car keys or one of the kids forgetting their lunches at school, or someone sends an email about something that you've forgotten at work or something, we just go into massive overwhelm, massive frustration, massive sense of, life is too hard. And it looks like that's happening because of all the things that are coming out there. I can tell you right now, right? I can tell you right now that if you are feeling that way, it is because your mind is going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. You're overthinking, you're overloaded, and you've got no bandwidth. Now, someone who's in that frame of mind, you get them to go back through the past and relive everything. How on earth are they going to move forward? No bandwidth. I'm going to now think about stuff even more, stuff that upsets me, stuff that is overwhelming, stuff that adds to my mental load. And then I'm going to expect myself to have more capacity for emotional intelligence, connection, understanding, patience, the things that are required, right? To reconnect with the people we care about. Lightheartedness, playfulness, the things that we all need and want. How on earth are you going to find that doing that? Hey, Leanne. Hi. Nice to see you. Thank you so much. It takes us out of the present. Yeah. Susan, I could listen to you talk all day. Oh, thanks, Susan. You're a sweetie. Thank you. Sarah, how can we slow our minds down? Well, we slow our minds down by understanding how things work. Understanding is the answer to everything, right? Understanding is a leverage point for change. The more we understand something, the less we think about it. Does that make sense? The more we understand something, the less we think about it. Now, the less we think about something, the slower our mind goes and the less mental load we have. So the more deeply you understand how people work, the less you think about it, the less mental load you have, and the slower we just naturally and organically become. Our minds speed up when we're frightened. Our minds speed up when we're in fear mode, right? So all of those emotions I just talked about, anger, frustration, self-righteousness, justification, judgment, that's just all fear. That's where people go when they're frightened, because those are all self-defense mechanisms, yeah? See that? I'm going to get judgmental when I'm feeling frightened. It's a self-defense thing. And so, as you understand, and this is the whole thing, as you understand how things work, you understand how people work, we're not so frightened. This is why I use the metaphor of the weather, okay? It's winter here. I understand seasons. I understand the way they work. So I don't think about it too much. I don't love it. It gets a bit cold. It's pretty windy, but I don't have a lot of thinking about it. Now, if I didn't understand that, I would have a lot of thinking about the weather. When is the weather going to change? How long is it going to take? It's really cold today. When will the sun come back out? I wonder if it'll come out tomorrow. I wonder why it's not sunny today. Wow, it's really windy. I wonder when that will stop. Gee, it's grey. When will I see the blue sky again? See that? Thinking, because I don't understand the weather. It's very, very simple, guys. It comes through understanding. Your mind naturally and organically slows down the more deeply you understand something. Hence why this is everything that I teach, because when people understand how we work, the psychological functioning of a human being, how we create our reality, how it works, and it's the same for everybody, how we work internally is the same. We may express ourselves differently, but how we work is the same. So when people understand that, their minds slow down. It's like, oh, I know what's going on. I know what's going on with me. I know what's going on with my partner. I know what's going on with my kids. I know what's going on with my work colleague. I know what's going on with my mother-in-law. I know what's going on with my sibling. I know what's going on with my best friend. I know exactly what's going on with them, right? Because I understand how it works. So what happens then? As you understand, you feel calmer. As you feel calmer, your mind slows down. Well, you have to feel calm. Your mind has to slow down first in order for you to feel calm, right? That one goes before the other. But can you see what I'm saying? And then in that space, there's far more of you on offer. You can relate to the other person because it's like, oh, I do that too. You're relating through your innate humanness and the understanding of that, rather than looking at someone's differences and judging them, which is very destructive in our relationships and very destructive for ourselves because it creates separation, which is the opposite of what we're looking for, which is connection. Let me know if this is making sense, guys. So the next question here. Awesome. Thanks. Oh, thanks, Deeza, honey. It's beautiful how you organically change this understanding. Yes. Hear the word organically change. Not lots of application, not lots of work, not lots of, no, don't need to do all of that. It's just not, you really don't, guys. That's just exhausting and it's not fun. Like, you know, life is not meant to be that hard. You don't have to work really hard on yourself to create change. That is a myth. We only have to work really hard on ourselves to create change when we lack understanding. When there's understanding, it's much simpler. So I'm going to come back to another question that's asked here. So this is this lady who's in a relationship with someone who doesn't want to have a child and they want one. How do we face and address this fear he has? You mentioned something interesting before on the live chat, when you love someone enough to put them first before your own fears and insecurity. That hit home for me, as I've been feeling less of a priority as he's putting his fears ahead of us, our relationship and growth. I'm willing to face this challenge in life, however, I feel alone, as I don't think he's willing to stretch himself. The fear is stronger than we are. I'm going to come back to what I said before. It's not up to you to make someone else face their fears, right? It's not up to you to make someone else change. People have to want to do that for themselves. And this is a really important thing you have to understand. Just because something is a problem for you does not mean it is a problem for someone else. So what I mean by that is, unless someone else sees it as a problem, it's not a problem to them. So if it's only a problem to one of you, and you're doing all the work on behalf of two of you, you're over functioning here. Now, when someone over functions, someone else under functions. Okay. So right now, and I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning of this chat, the elephant in the room is not the fact that your partner doesn't want to have a child. It's the fact that you are in a relationship with someone who doesn't want a child. That's the elephant in the room. And right now, you're trying to overcome his fear. You're now telling him, can you see this? Instead of you looking at, why am I here with someone who doesn't want this, that's so important to me, I'm now working on changing him so I can get what I want. I really hope you can hear what I'm saying in the spirit in which I'm sharing this with you, honey. Okay? This isn't about him. It looks like it, but it's not. This is about the fact that you're here, right? Trying to change. You're resisting what is. See that? And you're thinking about it. Is it because of the past? Is it because of this? How can I change this? He's not prioritizing us. He's not this. You're not prioritizing you, honey. Okay? This might be a little hard to hear but you're not prioritizing you. You're making it his problem. If he doesn't want a child, it doesn't really matter why. That's just where he is. And instead of going, that's where he is, this is where I'm at, what do I want to do about it? You're now going, okay, I've got to change him. I've got to fix him. I've got to find a way forward. He's not prioritizing us. See that? You're deflecting all of this onto him. It's very, very simple. If you're going to stay in that relationship, you have to accept where he's at. If you can't accept where he's at, then you have to ask yourself, why am I here? Right? See, we can get very, very distracted from ourselves. And this is another way of doing it, by working on the other person. Okay? By working on the other person. Then we don't get clarity, the clarity that we need. I was just having this conversation with a client last night. They were saying to me, Fiona, I've been single for a long time. I'm really ready to be all in a relationship. And I've been in a relationship with someone where it's kind of been part-time for 3 years. They've got younger kids. They don't have the time that I do to put into it. And I keep, I guess I keep making them wrong for not having enough time. And we've had a couple of sessions and they had a big insight, which was, well, hang on a minute. It's okay for me to want more, and it's okay for them to be where they are. It's just not a match for me right now, right? And I keep resisting that and making them wrong and making myself wrong for wanting more, making them wrong because they can't give it to me. Instead, this is where I am at. I want more, and this person is just not there at the moment. So I either, and this is what they were realizing for themselves, I either make peace with that and stop making them wrong and stop putting pressure and accept where they are and enjoy it. Or I say to myself, that's not enough for me and that's okay. I want more, so I'm going to move on and find it. Okay? I really hope this is making sense to you guys. This is very, very important, the distinctions that I'm making here. Okay? And I really want to reach out to the person that sent these questions in, because they're gold and they're really helpful for everybody here. Okay? So thank you for that. Now, I just want to check in with you guys, because I've been speaking now for about 32 minutes. Does anyone have any questions around what I'm saying? Is this making sense? Is this helpful? Does anyone listening have a question that they want to ask in today's live before we finish off? There's a number of things that I've covered today. So if you're just joining in, the live will be up ready for you to go back and listen to, probably in about half an hour or so. Go back and listen to it, because this is really important, what's been covered today. We tend to get very we are, one thing, oh, hang on, Paul. This is what happened to my partner of 17 years. Then she slowly disconnected to the point of done. It's hard for me to move on as you try and help without this understanding. I think you can choose to be happy, but it's frustrating when the other person can't make the switch and doesn't want to. Okay. But if someone doesn't want to change, then the question has to be, what do you want to do about that for you? What do you want to choose for you, right? This is where Sheila, hi, Fiona, your eye has healed beautifully. Yes, it has, hasn't it? I don't know if you guys realize, but I not last weekend, but the weekend before, I tripped and fell in a car park and smashed. I smashed my eye into the ground. My eye's fine. When I say smashed, I mean it smashed against the ground, and it was all bruised and grazed. I know, it's just healed. Amazing. Can't even tell. Incredible. So thank you for noticing that, Sheila. Thank you for your wisdom. Relatable, and your insights led to a richer, calmer life, more empathy and understanding. Yeah, it is such a lovely place to live your life from, when there's empathy and understanding and grace and humility with yourself and others. It's the most beautiful place to live your life from. Okay, it truly is. And so what I was going to say also in regards to the question or what you've shared, Paul, and thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Is that we are very good at distracting ourselves from what is. Okay, human beings are fantastic at it, and we do it in many, many ways. We distract ourselves from what is through being super, super busy, by trying to fix and change somebody else and manage somebody else. I'll take that on. I'll help them with their fear. I'll help them through that problem. I'll help them through this. Or we distract ourselves from ourselves by reading lots of material. I'm going to read and read and read and read and read and read. I'm going to listen to podcast after podcast after podcast. I'm going to gather information, right? Busy, 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 busy. Or we distract ourselves through, alcohol, the usual suspects, food, gambling, porn, reality TV, all of those sorts of things. Okay. When we distract ourselves, we're not dealing with what is right in front of us, because that's often the hardest thing. People like to be comfortable. They're not great with change. But, the more you understand how things work, the easier it becomes to face what is truly true for you, right? Truly it is. And you draw from a knowing of whatever happens, it's okay. Whatever happens, it's okay. Fiona, this topic is huge. I needed to hear this today. Awesome. Thank you so much, Christy. I really appreciate your feedback. It is huge. I could talk about this for a week solid. Truly, I could, easily. Karen, how do you address your partner when you know they are under-functioning and you are over-functioning? Well, it's not about the partner. It's about you, honey. First and foremost, remember, everything is about you. I was having this conversation with a client yesterday morning who's in a situation where they've got 3 little kids. She feels very alone. Her partner runs a very busy business, is often working many, really long hours, weekends. And then when he has some time out, he's catching up with a business colleague for a coffee. So in other words, the priority is the business. And she's on her own with the kids. She's exhausted. She hasn't had a break. She was saying that, she hasn't had a girls' weekend or a night out or anything for years, right? And she said, he needs to prioritize us. And I looked at her and I said, okay, that may well be true. But I said, are you prioritizing you? I said, are you prioritizing you? Because everything is a reflection of you. Meaning, it's not her fault that her husband's working those out. It's not what I'm saying. So hear what I'm saying. Don't really need you to hear what I'm saying. Take the judgment if you're judging what I'm saying right now. Oh, she's just victim blaming. Oh, what is she saying? Right, put that down. It's not what I'm saying. Everything is a reflection of you. Asking someone else to prioritize you when you're not prioritizing you, that's not how it works. You prioritize you, and then life will be a reflection of that. Don't ask someone to do for you what you're not willing to do for you. Okay? Are you hearing what I'm saying? This is very important. This is how you create change from an empowered place versus creating change from a disempowered place, which is this person needs to prioritize me or us, and that might well be true, okay? But waiting for them to do it, something that you're not willing to do for you, that's not how it works. Because remember, life is a spiritual journey before it is a human one. We are here to expand and grow. Someone doing something that you're not prepared to do is not growth. That's not growth. So it won't happen that way. You prioritize you first. So if you are over-functioning, Karen, stop. Stop rescuing your partner. Stop trying to make everything okay for everybody. Prioritize yourself. That has to start first, right? See that? You have to be really clear about that. You have to do that first and then be okay with the fallout of that, right? Then be okay with the fallout of that, because if you've been over functioning for a long time and you stop, you're absolutely going to get kickback, right? I'm not saying that's your fault, but because that's been the norm, you're going to get kickback. You're going to get resistance to that. And again, resistance is a wonderful gift. Because exactly for my client yesterday, she said, oh, yeah, I've tried to do that. But, he says, what about this? What about blah, blah, blah. And I get really guilty. And I went, there you go. The guilt is on you. See, that's yours to deal with. And this is why these things are a wonderful thing, because they help us grow and expand and keep choosing ourselves and being sovereign, right? Sovereignty is very, very important in life. Okay. And she said, and so I've always stopped. When I felt guilty, I stopped. I went, there you go, because you haven't dealt with that one yet. Can you see how everything is us in terms of if we don't do these things for ourselves, you cannot expect someone else to do for you what you won't do for yourself. Very, very important. So if you want someone under functioning around you to stop doing that, you have to stop over functioning first, right? And you have to let the chips fall where they're going to fall. So as I said to this client yesterday, I said, and again, I'm very mindful of not telling people what to do, because I really want people to work things out for themselves and do what feels right for them. And you are the only person who knows what feels right for you. So I was just kind of playing devil's advocate. I said, what would happen if you decided to go out for 3 hours on Saturday morning? And you just told your husband, I'm going out. Oh, he would say, what am I going? Where am I doing? Why do I need to go out? And I said, what would you do? Oh, I'd probably... And I went, there you go. See? If you've got conviction and clarity, it's like, I'm going out on Saturday morning, you're in charge of the kids. And I said, and you don't leave snacks lined up, and you don't make it easy. You point him to the pantry and say, there's the snacks, there's breakfast, work it out. And people amazingly do, right? You got to give someone a chance to step into something. Stop making it so easy. People work things out if you give them a chance. So we've got to stop being so controlling, and we've got to stop trying to make everything okay. We've got to stop over functioning. So it all starts with you. It's very, very important. That's how you feel empowered. It's how you feel excited by life. It's how you feel connected to life instead of feeling downtrodden and unappreciated and resentful and unnoticed and unseen. And I know many people feel that way, but often that's because you're wanting someone to notice something in you that you aren't prepared to notice for yourself. It just doesn't work that way. And please hear me when I say this. I say this with love and kindness to you all, right? I really do. Hey, Graham, thanks for saying hi. Really appreciate it. It was nice to see you, Graham. Just want to check in because I'm about to finish. Has this been helpful? Is this making sense? If you have a question about anything that I've spoken about today, you can send an email to hello@fionalukeis.com.au, and I will answer it for you next week. If you want to know about my Relatable program, where I teach all of this, I teach about the psychological functioning of a human being. I teach you how to navigate your thinking. I teach you all of this so that you can show up with a clear mind. Your mind slows down. You stop the million miles an hour thoughts. You are present, calmer, grounded, more in tune with yourself, more comfortable in your own skin. You develop this amazing ability to connect, to create understanding, compassion, understand what goodwill looks like, all of those things. This is what we talk about in Relatable. It's what we teach. It's amazing. It's a wonderful place to live your life from. If you want to know more about Relatable, you can book a time to have a chat with me, and I'll take you through it. All right. I'll put the link to both to that below in the chat now. Thanks, Sheila. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Karen. Awesome. Thank you so much for your feedback, everyone. So lovely to spend this time with you. As always, I will be back here at around about 12:30-ish next Friday. And if you want to have a chat and find out more about Relatable, I'll put the link in the comments to that below. All right, everybody, have a fantastic week. See you soon. Ciao.